Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Noelle, and today we're going to talk about the things I've learned doing long distance racing, doing endurance sport. This year marks my 12th year of, well, not really. It is my 13th year already of running. It's my 12th year of doing triathlon. So I have been doing these things, which are known as endurance sports, for more than a decade now. Between these two sports, running and triathlon, there are two distances which people believe is the pinnacle. For running, it's the marathon. For triathlon, it's the full distance triathlon, or ironman, or iron distance. I think as a runner and as a triathlete, you do learn a lot about yourself and a lot about your capabilities when you do these banner distances. I know some people who are very content to stay doing 5Ks, 10Ks for triathletes. I know I have a friend who has no intention whatsoever of doing an Ironman, or so he says. And that is completely fine. That's actually, it is your choice, because these long distances do take a lot out of you in terms of time and resources and commitment, and you really have to want to do them. So yeah, you don't have to do a marathon to be a runner, you don't have to do an Ironman to be a triathlete. But when you do these long distances, you do learn a lot of things which you don't necessarily learn when you're doing the short distances. I was thinking about it, and I listed down maybe the top things I learned from long distance endurance sport. Number one is much of the training will be monotonous, I guess. It's the kind of stuff that when you think about it, or when you think back on it, you won't really remember much of the details, especially the long rides, the long runs. They all kind of fuse into one non-memory for me. But it's really important that when you're doing these long distance training sessions, that you enjoy it in the moment, because when you're actually doing these sessions, you're not actively thinking about, oh, this is how I'm going to be able to finish 42 kilometers, or this is what I'm going to do when I'm done riding 180 kilometers on the bike. I'm going to start running. No, you're basically trying to get through these sessions 1 minute at a time or an hour at a time. And so it's important to enjoy the moment. Whether it's trying to do these sessions more often with friends, people who are similarly minded to you, or listening to some great music while you're doing them, or going to training venues which are really inspirational and beautiful, and they really rev you up to want to keep training. Number two is that motivation is an emotion, and like all emotions, they ebb and flow. You don't necessarily have to be motivated to get through any of these sessions or to get through your race. Long distance teaches you that consistency is more important than feeling motivated. So you don't wake up every morning and go, yeah, I want to run. Yeah, I want to swim. Yeah, I want to bike. Not really. But you can wake up every morning going, I have a run today. Let's just check that off the list. And when you do enough of these sessions, check, 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 it becomes a habit, it becomes part of your lifestyle, and it becomes easier to get through these sessions. And all of these sessions build together to create that firm foundation upon which you can race. Additionally, non-reliance on motivation helps you persist, whether in training or in racing, despite what you're feeling. So let's just say, for instance, in my second marathon, that was the 2010 Milo Marathon Finals, I was running shortly after gun start, and at the second kilometer, I started asking myself, why am I doing this? Why am I even here? Like, what benefit is it to me to run this race at this pace? So that was a moment of doubt. It was a confusing emotion, but I just kept putting one foot in front of the other. And before I knew it, I was at kilometer 15 and I was feeling a bit better about running and a bit more like, yeah, I'm running this because I wanted to. And, I have a great chance of setting a new personal record. So let's go, let's go, let's go. But at kilometer 2, if I had given into that emotion, into that lack of motivation, I might have, I might as well have stepped off the side of the road and quit. Doing long distance enables you to understand that you don't need motivation to get through something. Point number 3, if you've trained properly, your body can actually go on autopilot for long stretches. And even if you want to quit, you're probably not gonna quit. This happened to me at that 2010 Milo Marathon. I just kept going, just putting one foot in front of the other. It also happened to me during my one and only full distance triathlon race at Challenge Raw. This was on the marathon. I think it was on the 15th kilometer, and I just wasn't feeling great. I had just gotten off the bike. I was in a crash on the bike, so I was I was in one piece and just trying to get through the marathon so I could finish. But at the 15th kilometer, I was like, maybe this isn't really all it's cracked up to be. One whole day of feeling mediocre. I was just thinking, maybe I should quit. Luckily, the design of the Roth race at that time wasn't. There were long stretches of out and back routes, and so even if you quit at the far end of the out, nobody was going to be able to pick you up from there and take you back. The ambulances couldn't really get onto those footpaths, so I would still have to run myself back. So I said, okay, if I'm going to quit, let me just get to the end of this and I'll come back and I'll run back all the way. And then at the next aid station where there's an ambulance, that's when I'll put myself in the ambulance and quit. And by the time I got to those aid stations where I could easily dump out, I wasn't feeling like I wanted to quit. Point number 3 is kind of related to point number 2. And it's funny because you do get a form of highway hypnosis when you're on the road for long periods of time, where you just suddenly realize, hey, I'm on the 25th kilometer now. I'm on the 32nd kilometer now. Wow, 35. I only need to do 7 more kilometers and then I'm done. And so that's how I tricked myself into finishing. Point number 4 is that you can endure more than you think. And you learn that about yourself as you finish a marathon, as you finish an Ironman. Because at the start of it, like before you signed up for it, you weren't capable of doing those distances. And then you started training for them properly. And then you got yourself to the starting line healthy. And then you got yourself across the finish line in one piece. And then you realize, you know what? I couldn't have done this 6 months ago. I couldn't have done this a year ago. Who knew I could endure so much? I'm not just talking about race day endurance. I'm talking about the training you did leading into race day. All that. Who knew you could sacrifice so much? And so it teaches you a lot about yourself and about who you are. It's not so much character building, although sometimes some people become better versions of themselves after doing these long distance races, but it's more of character revealing. You reveal who you are in the way you approach and finish a long distance race. Point number 5, you do need to race your own race. This is not for people who are in this competitively, like to win, but if you're just there to finish, if you're there to beat your own personal record or to achieve something for yourself, then you need to race your own race. Many times you'll see someone going faster than you at the start, and then you reel them back in going towards the finish. You know what you're capable of physically, mentally, emotionally, and you were the one who created your own race plan, game plan for the race. So to perform at your best, you really need to do your own pace. And that's applicable not just to the race itself, but to life. There was this one race I did where somebody blew by me so fast. And I was like, no, I have to catch that person because there are X number of people, X number of women in this race, and I'm kind of in podium position. And if this person gets ahead of me, I'm gonna drop off the podium, etc., etc. So I tried chasing her down, and wouldn't you know it, this person was actually in a shorter category than mine, and I had burned those matches trying to catch up to her for nothing. You never really know what point some people are in their lives. And so you just do your own thing, race your own race. Lastly, of course, if you make a mistake in a short distance race with nutrition, with training, the race is over before you even realize that you made a mistake. Or, you're towards the finish line, so it doesn't really matter. But during a long distance race, if you make a mistake with your nutrition, if you make a mistake with your pacing, all of that cascades and it affects the end of that race. Also, you can always manage to come back from a mistake in a long race as well. It's paradoxical, right? That a long race, you can make a mistake and it can end your long race, but at the same time, you can still come back from that mistake and succeed in that race. And it's a lot like life, actually. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I learned a lot of life lessons from long distance racing, which I might not necessarily have learned just doing 5Ks and 10Ks. Aside from the health benefits and the achievement benefits of doing long distance racing, I really do feel like there's a lot of life lessons that you can draw from doing these sorts of endurance events. So I highly encourage you that if you have the desire to do a marathon or to do an Ironman or a full distance, go for it. Train properly for it, plan accordingly, commit yourself to it, and you will reap so many benefits, not just physically, but also mentally, and it nourishes your soul in ways that I I've never actually felt from other things that I've done in my life. All right, guys, if you found this, it's probably not very informative, but if you found this inspirational, if you found this motivational, please give me a thumbs up. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you again next time. Bye!